What kind of witchy poo bullshit is this? What kind of wicked witch from the West bullshit is this? God gonna get you, Maria. God gonna get you for doing them kids like that. Oh, my life, be waiting for you. No, how you do. Well, hello there, love bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and tip your favorite narrator via Cash App at $NAROB on YouTube. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, you know, the paying members, they are privy to the puppy videos. Also, the paying YouTube members, they know what the next book is too. But how do I understand why she chose not to pay for my son's care while I was away? That's what I want to know. That's your grandchild, girl. That's the shit that I don't understand that mess. Just like how does Natalie owe Maria money? How's that? Why did you not put things in place while she was away? What did you just take her money for? Girl, that's crazy. But how do I understand why she chose not to pay for my son's care while I was away? This is a hard one for me to overlook. Hard as I try, I could never rationalize it away. Believe me, I wish I could. From her perspective, I had somehow rejected her when the decision was made to leave Robbie with his nana. And I am certain that she was deeply hurt by my decisions to keep my marriage to Marvin a secret from her for 6 months. When you dealing with a motherfucker where everything is about them, bad or good, you take too many things to heart. Oh, you planted that apple tree without me. She plotting against me. When in reality, she know you love apple trees. She planted it because she wanted to fulfill your wish. I'm not talking about Natalie Cole. I'm just giving you an example. She wanted to fulfill your wish, having an apple tree. But they take it as she planted that apple tree and didn't even ask me. I wanted to plant an apple tree. You see what I'm saying? Like, some people always looking for a reason to be fucked up. And I am certain that she was deeply hurt by my decision to keep my marriage to Marvin a secret from her for 6 months, and saw that as a public snub in reaction to our private issues. These hurts undoubtedly were as difficult for her as they were for me. But money was to be the catalyst for the biggest conflict with my mother yet. After I came back home from rehab and began to work again, my brother Kelly was visiting at my condo and somehow noticed that I had written a check to my mother. He asked what it was for, and I explained that when I came out of rehab, I was broke with a lot of bills to pay, and Mom had been kind enough to loan me $70,000 at a low rate of interest. A low rate of interest? Girl, get the fuck out of my face. Kelly blew his stack. I don't recall ever seeing him so angry. Sweetie, that's your mother. Your mother is loaning to you at an interest. Don't pay her another cent. Go ask her yourself. Of course I did. When I called on the telephone and told her what Kelly had said, her response was unruffled. Well, if that's the way you feel, dear, you don't have to repay me anymore. Shortly thereafter, seemingly out of the blue, she made gifts of $20,000 to each of my sisters. Kelly was the catalyst who brought to our attention that something in the family finances just wasn't quite right. All 5 of the children gathered together one day to talk about money issues, and Kelly encouraged us to investigate Dad's will. This was actually the second time I had tried to see Dad's will. When I first got started in the music business, I was having a talk with my manager, Kevin Hunter, and told him that I had always felt sad that my father had not remembered me in his will. Remember when Dad died and the mother was like, oh, your father left you some money, and the only thing she did was get a Volkswagen Bug or some car and a nose job? Nat King Cole passes and the only thing he has to give his daughter is a nose job and a Volkswagen? We were all told that Dad didn't leave us anything, that he left everything to my mother, and that after her death, we would basically get everything that was left. The assumption was that a mother could care for her young children. Kevin asked me if I had ever seen the will, and when I told him I had not, he suggested that I should ask to see it. Remember, he and my mother didn't like each other anyway. Maria was like, get rid of that nigga. He asked too many questions, and he tell you to ask questions. Get rid of that nigga. When I called my mother's business office to ask if there was a copy of the will I could see, I was told by my mother's business manager that to look into this matter would jeopardize my relationship to my mother. Of course, he was working for her. My own attorney at the time tried as well, and although he was quite a bulldog, they managed to stonewall even him. Once I backed off, he had to back off too. I don't remember why Kelly said that something wasn't right and we needed to look into this, but in 1984, we were shut down almost immediately. I mean, we just couldn't get anywhere. It was like a brick wall. We hired a lawyer to investigate, and he went digging through files but couldn't get access to the will. For whatever reasons, we couldn't get to the inner workings of my father's estate through public records, and it took nearly a decade before we found out exactly what was happening. We were all over 21. And mother was still rationing out a few thousand here and a few thousand there to Timbaland and Casey. By then I was into my career and I never needed the money, but that wasn't the point. The point was how we kids felt when people asked us, did your dad remember you in his will? We always had to answer, I guess he didn't. I didn't want to make my dad look bad, and I wasn't angry thinking that he didn't mention us, but I just kind of felt sad about it. First of all, it's nobody's business what the fuck is happening in your dad's will. Why they so worried for? As we got older, my mother was adamant in her statements to all of us that your father didn't leave you anything. This issue would come up every couple of years, and in the meantime, she was living very well. We had never had to sign a piece of paper for anything at all, ever. And she never involved us in her business or in Dad's business. And why should we have been? We were told we had no inheritance. Then one day in June of 1990, we all received telephone calls requesting that Nat King Cole's children attend a meeting in a law office in Century City. Once we arrived at that attorney's office, all of us, Kelly included, The story began to unfold. The office belonged to Sidney Mochtinger of Mochtinger, Clayman, and Fields, tax attorneys. The reason we were asked to attend this meeting was to sign off on papers to authorize tax payments for a trust fund. The money was coming through a branch of the Royal Bank of Scotland in English Channel Islands. All my father's royalties from a lifetime of recording, more than 25 million records for capital, had been flowing through this bank. Muchtinger, the attorney, was under the impression that my mother, Maria Cole, was the only beneficiary of the estate. For the first time, however, I was allowed to see my father's last will and testament. He had prepared this document in 1960. There, in no uncertain terms, he had made loving provisions for two trusts, one designated for my mother and one designated for all of his children. It turned out my dad had remembered us after all and had always wanted us to know that he loved us. I was overcome with emotion as I read that document. It had been such a burden, such a sadness to believe that my father had forgotten us. Now, at last, we had proof that he cared and reached out to us. I was elated, as were my sisters and brother. What kind of witchy poo bullshit is this? What kind of wicked witch from the West bullshit is this? Dirty bitch. That bitch is terrible. God gonna get you, Maria. God gonna get you for doing them kids like that. Listen, I done met some older people who have been ornery and so sweet. You hear me? I have met some mean and sweet people. You hear me? But that right there, oh, that's a dirty bitch. That is the dirtiest bitch that has ever done it. The business side of the meeting was not nearly so happy. Apparently, immediately after Dad died, his large group of attorneys and advisors had managed to commingle the two trusts so that all the money flowed into one corporate entity through the trustee, the Royal Bank of Scotland. My mother was the owner of the corporation and held the title of president for many years, and she was the recipient of all the money. You can't commingle trust monies without the help of an attorney. It's not like she did it on her own. Since the lawyers had been in charge of my father's business affairs and they had drawn up my father's will, they knew where the loopholes were. One of the lawyers had been named guardian of the children's trust until the children reached their majorities. Another, who was the tax attorney for my parents, continued to represent my mother after my father died. So the lawyers managed to commingle the trust for a long, long time. A remarkable irony is that the lawyers might have pulled it off. They might have persuaded us to sign the papers that afternoon and go home ignorant. But my mother had taught her children too well. She was very rigid about certain properties and smart business procedures for her children. Mom instilled these ideas in us as we were growing up. She gave me my work ethic. She taught me how to be disciplined. And beginning when I was 15 years old, she taught me how to go out and get a job. She taught me how to be domestic, how to clean a house, and how to keep a house. She also taught by example because she has always kept a lovely home. The one piece of advice she drummed into us as we grew older was ironic in light of our current situation. She told us over and over, if anyone ever puts a piece of paper in front of you to sign, make sure you get an attorney before you sign it. Okay. When we got a call to come down to Mom's tax attorney's office to sign a piece of paper, we did what we'd been taught by our mother to do. We brought an attorney with us. My mother hit the ceiling when she saw our lawyer.